this, here's someone, this is very applicable to you. Actually, where does he work? I forgot his name already. Monster Energy, right? Where's Monster Energy? So this someone, oh yeah, Udabir. So we helped Udabir get a job at Monster Energy. If you notice, he only had 2 years of experience as a front-end developer, and he didn't even have that. But look at, we just talked about what he's able to do. These are all the keywords that kept showing up on the job descriptions. And then we said, at this job, he was a front-end engineer, and this is what he did. But these things kept showing up on the job description, so that's all we had to add. And he got his first job at $109,000 at Monster. It's not a bad job. I'll show you another guy, Zach. This is another client, old client. He didn't have any experience when he got his first job at Ripple. So he kind of did what you guys did. He went through a boot camp, General Assembly 2016. First job he gets, software engineer. This job helped him earn 7 figures, by the way, because they gave him equity. And all we had to do at that point was just basically state in his thing. It was much more complex than this, but now it's less. We just basically made sure that the keywords and the things that they're asking for in the job descriptions were on his resume. So that was always like step one, in my opinion. And so then what do we do is, instead of sitting there and spending countless hours applying to job after job after job, what we're doing instead, and what we're showing our clients, is go and find hiring managers and senior leaders and recruiters that work at those companies on LinkedIn, right? And like, if you look at a job description, it'll usually say either one of two things. It will rarely say, here's the hiring manager for the job, but sometimes it does. But it usually says this role reports directly into the director of engineering for this particular team, right? So now we know, okay, this role reports into the director of engineering. So let me go and find the director of engineering at that company, which is so simple to do. The way you do it is you type in the name of the company on LinkedIn, and then go to people, and then type in director of engineering. And if there's multiple directors of engineering, we tell our clients just message all of them, or message 3 or 5 of them. So first you connect and then you message them. And then what you tell them is not like, hey, I saw this job posting, I think I'm a great fit. Instead is, hey, I was just doing some research on this front end engineer position that you have. It looks like you need somebody who can help build this, 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 and this. Would love to share how at my last company I built XYZ things that are very similar, or in my boot camp, I did a capstone project that was very similar, or I learned blah, blah, blah. And I'd love to chat with you to see if there might be some synergies for us to work together. So the Udabir, that guy, Zach, our clients, we always tell them, if you message 100 people or 150 people and you only hear back from 40%, right now our clients average about a 43% like conversion rate, right? So if they message 100 people, they'll hear back from 43. That's more than enough. And let's take it worst case scenario. Let's say you cut that number in half and you only hear back from 20 people. Now you have 20 conversations with senior engineering leaders at the company that you're actually interested in working for. So that whole process is way more effective, in my opinion, than what's it called? Starting with just like sitting there and applying to job after job after job, which we know yields nothing, like very little to no results. So I'll stop there. Are there any questions? You guys want to chat through some things?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I have a question. I joined in a little bit later, so I missed the introduction. Um, I'm not sure if you are part of 4 Geeks Academy, um, but I are you actually? Before I
No,
ask
I'm
you. Oh,
not.
you're not.
I'm
Okay.
I'm the founder of a company called Career Sprout.
Okay, got it. Okay, never mind then. Thank you.
Oh, okay. What was your question?
I was gonna ask something about joining 4Geeks Academy because I'm looking at into boot camps at the moment,
Oh, cool. Okay.
but I can ask them directly then.
I can answer your question for you. What is your question about 4Geeks?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask whether you guys have UX design programs there.
We have full stack software development, so you don't need any prior experience. And we train you on front end, back end, APIs. You learn about 10 or 12 different languages throughout the program. It's a 4-month program. And then when you finish it, you're ready to apply for your first job in tech. But we focus on full stack software development.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
There's
So
a question
Mary,
here in the chat about
th-
the.
yeah. So you're saying, Mary, that summary was very brief. All we need to focus on is the keyword match. That's one aspect of it. And that's a good question. It's so for your resume, just so you guys know, um, all of these job boards that you've probably heard of, Dice, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, Builtin.com, all of them, they all operate the same way. Your resume gets posted on there. Recruiters who use these job boards to search for resumes search based on keyword optimization, right? So they search based on keywords. So they're literally typing in Python, Django, um, .NET, C Sharp, whatever, right? Whatever languages, React, Node, that they're typing in just what they see on the job description. And when they click search, what shows up on this job board result is resumes that are most like they're highly keyword optimized. So resumes, these job boards act just like Google does, right? Like websites rank on Google, Bing, all these search engines based purely on SEO. Well, resumes rank based on keyword optimization. And so, they say the place a company goes to die is on page 2 of a Google search result. It's the same thing for job boards, right? So one aspect of having your resume be seen is making sure that yes, there are a plethora of keywords showing up on your resume. How do we know what keywords to add? Well, that's what I was saying. So step one is study the job descriptions of the roles you're going after. And I would study multiple of them. So like 15, 20, 25 job descriptions. And once you start seeing a pattern that they all keep asking for the same 3 to 5 things, from one job description to the next, to the next, to the next, and you know that, okay, those are the same 3 to 5 things I'm going to add to my resume. Again, if I've done it, I can speak to it or have some sort of transferable experience or exposure to it, right? So that's one aspect, Mary. But what I was saying outside of that is we don't want to rely solely on sitting there and applying to jobs or hoping that a recruiter will reach out to us. So instead, what we want to do is be proactive and go and reach out to senior leaders, technical leaders in this case, that work at the companies that you are seeing the openings at. And when we reach out to them, I kind of let you know what you should say to them, and finding recruiters and messaging them. So the rule of thumb that we have in our program, so just so you know, the average right now, the average job search, like the average amount of time it takes somebody to look for a job and like actually find one that they like, is a little over 8.5 months. In our program, they're finding it in 67 days or less. And this is how they're doing it. So they are sending outreach messages. Once the resume is optimized and the LinkedIn is optimized, we are sending 5 messages to 5 different recruiters at a company, and then 5 senior technical leaders at a company. So think head of engineering, director of engineering, sometimes even group PM, whatever, right? The manager of engineering. We're finding 5 leaders and we're messaging them. And if we find maybe 10, 15, 20 companies right there, that's already like 200 people. And you can message them all on LinkedIn. You can find them all on LinkedIn. That is like the easiest part. And then once we message them, usually what happens is we're seeing about a 43% conversion rate. So about 40 people will get back to our clients and say, yeah, let's talk. So what I was saying to you, Mary, or to everyone here, was like, let's take that and make a worst case scenario. Let's say instead of 40% of people getting back to you, let's say it was only 20%, cut it in half, right? Well, that's still 20 conversations that you just started with a senior leader at a company that you actually want to work for. And like, what do you think happens when you start with a senior leader at a company, right? It can only be something good. Usually it's something good unless you just botch that entire conversation. And then once you've had that conversation with a senior leader, what typically happens is they'll say, why don't you come into the interview process with us? I'll put you in touch with our team or HR, and then we'll schedule the interview. But at this point, what's really cool is you now have a senior leader at a company that you want to work for championing you all throughout the interview process. So it's just to me, it's a way more effective approach. We just see better results from it. I mean, our clients are saving 6 months off the job search process, right? They're finding it in 67 days when usually it takes 8.5 months or longer for some people. And you see it on LinkedIn all day long. They're like, I've been out of work for a year, 7 months, this amount of months. I've applied to 400 jobs. I've applied to 200 jobs. Well, like the way I think about it, it's like, well, then stop applying to so many jobs and start reaching out to people at the company that can actually make a decision. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like I didn't put this, I put this whole presentation together, but I wasn't aware of the fact, and that's my fault, but that you guys are earlier in your careers. But I'll show you something. Like, can I show? And if you guys want this presentation, just email me or message me or something. Here, so let me share my screen. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
we can.
Yeah?
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
So this is what I was saying was most people, and I'm so happy if you guys are earlier in your career or like kind of starting off, it's so nice because you get to be you're luckier than most because you can be intentional about the way you build your career. Like I told you, we've worked with over 670 something people by now since 2016, and I kid you not, the biggest regret most people make in their career is the fact that they were never taught how to kind of think about their career holistically, right? Like they were never taught, how do I build a career that I'm going to find meaningful, identify what my next step, what I want to be ultimately doing, and then reverse engineering a path to get there. Not only like are they never taught that, they're never told why it's important to do it, right? And so you'll see this, maybe you know people like this. I see this all the time. When you're never taught how to think about your career holistically and how to be intentional, what happens is you kind of bounce around from place to place to place. You spend years working at companies that you shouldn't be working at. Maybe they undervalue you, they take you for granted, they underpay you, working in a toxic culture, right? You just kind of bounce around, but it makes sense why you're bouncing around because you've never identified what your end goal is, right? And then when you bounce around, it's really hard to grow, obviously, right? So when you're not growing, you're not fulfilled. When you're not growing, you're not making more money. When you're not growing, you're not you're not getting the opportunities to gain new responsibilities or whatever. So I always tell people that, look, like whatever your past is, that's just your past, but it does not dictate your future and where you're about to go. So this is like I was going to show you, most people in our program, they average anywhere between a $25,000 $25,000 to $100,000 increase in their salary and find jobs in less than 67 days, and they're doing this without applying. And so where is it? So like here's just a few examples recent of people that have gone through our program, right? And like that girl got, where's her increase? The final offer is 425 and 105 sign on. So look at that. She went from 165 to 425,000. These are people in our program. This is that guy Zach I was telling you guys about. And here's another engineer. Her name's Aditi. She also went through our program and just got landed her second job. And so my point is, well, why are they doing this? Why are they having these types of results is because of that 5-step process that I was walking you through. And step one, in my opinion, is like your mindset, and we should always believe that we should always adopt, a growth mindset rather than a fixed, just meaning that, the more we learn, the more we kind of try to do something, naturally, the better we're going to get at that thing. And the better we get at the thing, the more opportunities will come our way. Versus a fixed mindset, we're like, I've applied to hundreds of jobs. It's never going to work. The job market sucks. I'm never going to find something good. That's such a fixed and negative mindset. And I'll skip through this, but our mindsets are usually built by accident, right? Like if you think about what you believe today, so much of that has to do with how you were raised over time, right? Like what kind of information do you consume? What kind of belief patterns do you have? What were you taught in school? Who do you surround yourself with? What are you reading? All of these things create these imprints in our mind. And that allows us to believe what we believe today. And sometimes we can't see beyond our initial beliefs. So the way to change that is through what's called brain plasticity. And that is essentially adopting a growth mindset. So adopting new beliefs, choosing to intake new information, obviously having faith, more importantly, mirroring the actions of the people that are doing what you want to be doing, right? And then surrounding yourself with people that can help uplift you. So mindset is, to me, such a key indicator of what yields really strong results. So the system that we teach our clients, I always say this, I actually give this to them, is like, I always tell them to follow it in order. And the reason I have this picture here is because many years ago, I hired a personal trainer, and he told me, he's like, okay, here's your workout plan, here's your diet plan, and then here's your recovery plan. And then and then he would work out with me. And then every single Monday, I'd have to go to him, and he would say, what did you eat over the weekend? And I'd have to tell him what I ate. And I remember specifically one weekend, he's like, what did you eat this weekend? And I said, oh, I had like 3 slices of cheesecake, because I'm in love with cheesecake. And he's like, what the hell? Why'd you eat so much cheesecake? Don't you know that throws off your whatever macronutrients and this, started saying all these technical terms. But the point was, he's like, you're never going to achieve the results if you don't follow the plan that I've set. You have to eat this much, these things, this much, sleep this much, recover this much, stretch this much, and then work out this way. And you have to do it the way he puts it. And so my point is, our system is kind of the same way. It's like you shouldn't jump around to different things. You need to be starting from the beginning and working your way to the end. But it's a predictable system, and it brings predictable results. So my point is, don't eat the cheesecake, right? So this is kind of what I was going to talk to you guys about, is like the old way of searching for a job is exactly what I was just kind of walking you through, is that everyone just slaps together a resume. And if you think about it, the time that someone looks for a job is usually in some sort of negative situation, right? They either got laid off, they hate their boss, they hate their culture, they hate how much they're not making, whatever, right? It's usually 83, 84% of the time, it stems from some negative situation, never from a positive. And so you're immediately, what you're doing is reacting. I hate this thing, so I want to get as far away from it as possible. So now let me slap together a resume and go and apply to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs, right? Well, if you think about it, and if you think like even more, next step to that is, when they put together a resume, they simply write down all the things they've ever done. So if you write down all the things you've ever done, how can you expect to ever attract something different other than what you did, right? So this is my point, is you don't want to sit there and just put together a resume and slap that together and go and apply to hundreds of jobs. You want to be very intentional about what you're looking for, and then understand and ask yourself, well, why am I a good fit for that thing? And then does my resume and my LinkedIn profile articulate the fit, right? Because what you want to avoid, especially as you grow older in your career, is you don't want to come across as looking like someone who's desperate and just looking for a job, right? You don't want to look like someone who's looking for a job. You want to look like someone who is the solution to the problem a company is experiencing. That's how your perceived value goes up. So this is just, if you want to save this, you totally can. Um, but so how do we start is like first identifying where you want to be, then putting together a keyword optimized resume, and then networking. And so we already talked about the first thing. So I won't bore you with all this because again, a lot of this stuff is advice, like advanced level stuff. However, this is when we talk about going out and reaching out to people, there's a plethora of different types of people you can reach out to. And so it can be hiring managers, recruiters, former colleagues. Heck, you can even run a quick search on LinkedIn and look at everyone who's ever gone through the 4Geeks Academy, right? You'll see a plenty of alumni who are now working at cool companies. Those are people you can reach out to, especially if you see jobs at their companies, right? And then acquaintances, user groups. There's tons of Slack communities, women in engineering, women in STEM groups, whatever. There's so many groups on LinkedIn and so many Slack communities that are dedicated to just people who geek out about all things tech or all things engineering or all things Python, all things whatever. And like the more you're part of these things, typically what you're doing is you're surrounding yourself with people who share similar interests, but B, probably work at some really cool companies. So a lot of times in these user groups, they're posting jobs that they're not posting on the job boards. And now you have a direct in with somebody who works at a company. So reaching out to people and networking in a very intentional, thoughtful way, again, yields like drastically better results than sitting there and applying to job after job after job. And here's a good script that you can use. So remember, most people just simply say, hey, hiring manager, I saw that you were hiring for this job. I think I'm a great fit. I would love to chat with you. Instead, we say this, and this is a script that we've been testing now for over a year and a half, and it's just worked really well. And it's just getting directly to the point of like, here's what I saw you need. Here's how I have experience doing that thing. And then having a call to action at the end and saying, do you have some time to chat? And like when you do this well, and here's the thing, right? So you reach out to 5 hiring managers, reach out to 5 recruiters per company. And when you do this well, so this is kind of like an example we give. This is what I meant. This guy, when he joined our coaching program, it was way back in 2016. He went to one of these colleges where you get to choose your own major, and he chose like alien studies, which was so random. But anyway, he was like, I want to be a product manager. And I was like, well, A, you studied aliens. B, you don't have any product experience. This is going to be really hard for me. And I don't think I can help you. And he's like, no, you got to help me, whatever. And so the first job we helped him get, and it came directly from networking, no applying to jobs, was a facilities coordinator at Snapchat. This is when Snapchat was cool. I don't know if it's still cool. But anyway, for the facilities coordinator is like the guy who, gets your phones, your desks, everything set up. But Wesley took this job, and they knew, because we stated this in the interview, that he wanted to be in product. So eventually, when an associate PM role opened up, they gave it to him. And immediately his salary went from 63 to 77. Then when he got promoted from that job 1 year later, he went from 77 to 90. So think about this. From 2016 to 2018, he jumped up $17,000. Then he left Snapchat to go to Atrium, and he went from 90,000 to 125. He got this job at Atrium literally because of somebody he had reached out to during the outreach process over here, and he had just stayed in touch with them. That's what I meant by always nurture your network. Once you've made it, nurture it. And then when he got laid off during COVID, April of 2020, he went from this job to this, $250,000. So he doubled his job pay from here. And how did he find this job? 28 days later, same way. He just reached out to the network that he built during this time, that he nurtured, and then he was able to get interviews quickly, and then he landed this job. So this is like another example of what a client sent not too long ago. This client, just FYI, he's in finance. He works at Chipotle, or he did work at Chipotle. And so when he was looking, he reached out to the CFO at Qdoba. Okay, and look at that. Within minutes, he replied and wants to chat with me. This is literally the CFO at Qdoba reached out to our client. You could see the messages here. I tried to save it. This was the message that our client sent to him, and this is what the CFO said back. Do you have some time to connect this week? This girl, Gina, also an engineer. Look at that. She sent this and heard back from WillowTree, Twilio, Airbnb, YouTube, Google, Asana, Stitch Fix, Microsoft. It's just a huge, huge advantage that most people don't take advantage of by reaching out directly to hiring managers and senior leaders. Why don't most people do it? If they do it, they're doing it ineffectively. But if they don't do it, it's because they're just sitting there and applying to jobs. But when you do it, this is what happens. Here's another client of ours. Look at this. He said he got an offer at CVS. Look at that. Remember that contact I made via LinkedIn? We sent her a Starbucks gift card. Well, she introduced me to one of her contacts. He and I had calls, whatever. Look at that. And in total, he increased his salary by $100,000. And so we always say our action item, once you know what jobs you're going after, once you've built a resume, making it keyword optimized, and LinkedIn, making it keyword optimized, then reach out to people using the script that I gave you. I just shared a few minutes ago. And that's like the fastest way to kind of, I would say, increase the amount of time you're going to spend in your job search, or decrease rather the amount of time you're going to spend in your job search. So I can pause right there and just ask if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, can you repeat the last 5 steps that you say pretty quick?
Repeat the last 5 steps.
Yeah, you were saying the step by step at the very end of the presentation. I didn't.
Yeah, so the idea is, number one, you want to make sure you take the time to figure out what you want out of your career, right? So can I, is there anyone here based in like the West Coast? Hello?
That looks like a no.
No, no one's okay. I'm going to assume one of you are. So let's say hypothetically, let's say Anthony was based on the West Coast, okay? And I said, Anthony, I want you to drive from LA, let's assume he's in LA, all the way to New York. Okay? Nice. And during this drive, sorry, it's all bright here. During this drive, you cannot use any GPS device, Anthony. No map, no phone, nothing. Okay? No, you can't have someone sitting there. And you just have to figure out how to get to New York. Well, you and I both know that you're smart enough to understand, fine, if I just drive northeast long enough, at some point I will get to New York, right? We know that much. What we don't know is how long it's going to actually take you. We don't know how much gas you're going to burn. We don't know how many times you're going to get turned around, how many times you're going to get lost, go on a detour. We don't know how many times you're going to stop at a place you shouldn't even have stopped at, and how much time you're going to spend at that place, right? And then at some point, we know you'll get to New York. But what we also don't know is, where in New York will you end up? Like maybe you end up in Buffalo, and who the heck wants to be in Buffalo? Right? Or you might end up in a really dangerous part of some dangerous like area, and like now you're stuck, right? The problem is, because you've burnt so much gas, because you spent all this money, you're probably tired, you probably stink. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna park my car in Buffalo right now, and then I'll call it a day, and I'll figure out where to go next, like later on. But instead, if I said, Anthony, I want you to drive from Los Angeles to the M&M store in downtown Manhattan, and this time you can use any GPS device that you want, right? If I said that, then what's Anthony going to do? He's going to literally put in the M&M store in like Google Maps or Waze or whatever, and he's going to get the fastest possible route to the M&M store. Not only is he going to have the most effective route, he's not going to get lost, he's not going to stop at places he didn't want to stop at, and on top of that, he's going to get M&Ms out of it. So why am I saying this? Think about how that analogy relates to people's careers. How many times do they stop at companies they shouldn't stop at, and work at companies they shouldn't work at? How many times do they kind of bounce around from place to place to place to place? How many times do they feel lost? How many times do they feel discouraged? Well, why is it like that? Why did they feel like that? It's because they haven't taken the time to identify what their M&M store is. So what's your end goal? And what's really cool about knowing what your end goal is the once you get clear on that, you know what your immediate next goal should be to help you get there. The point is, if you know that, okay, I want to be a CTO and I'm only at a front end engineer, what I got to go for next is a lead engineering role. Then from there, I got to go to this, right? And so take step one to your point, or to your question, Anthony, is first and foremost, take some time to be intentional and think about what you want out of your career. Where do you want to be? And I would recommend getting as granular as you possibly can. And then step two is, now that you know what that is, go and look at the next role that you should be going after and study 15 to 20 job descriptions, right, of that role, because you're going to see a pattern. And once you start seeing that they keep all ask for the same 3 to 5 things, then make sure that you add those things to your resume and to your LinkedIn profile, because that is going to help it kind of get optimized and show up on search results that the searches recruiters search for, right? And from that step is when you have that written out well, and there's a tool called jobscan.co. What's really cool is, on this tool, you can put in the job description on one side and then your resume on the other side and hit scan, and then it'll give you your score. And it'll tell you that your resume is 65% optimized, 95% optimized. And then if it's not that well optimized, it'll tell you what keywords it should have based on the job description. So use a tool. You can use tools like that. It's called jobscan.co. And so then it's when you want to reach out to hiring managers and senior leaders, and again, all these different types of people, like join user groups and start reaching out to them. Did that answer
I have
your
another
question?
question. Yes. So all this method, I think I've heard similar things in the last few years, and they always start with the same point, which is, where do you want to get to? So what is the final position that you want to be? What would you tell to somebody that doesn't know where they want to go?
That's the one area I can't help you with.
Okay.
I don't
I
know.
think that is
I don't know how to help someone figure out what they want to do in life. To me, that is like a skill that I think is something magical. I wouldn't know how to start. So when people apply to be part of our program, if they don't know what they want, I don't know how to help them. But if you're in product, or you're in engineering, and you know that, hey, look, I've been working at this company for 3 years and I'm stuck at 95 and I should be at 150, that, like, I know how to get them there so fast, right? But if you're like, hey, I've been doing all these things and I don't know where I want to go next, well, it's like, I don't know.
I'd like to share something to that question, actually. For me, for myself, through my experience, I didn't know what I wanted to do back then either. I did a lot of soul searching, but for me to realize what I wanted to do or have some clarity was basically to do something. And throughout the unknown experiences that I've gone through, I kind of gathered some sense of clarity throughout all of it. In the beginning, you wouldn't know what you wanted to do unless you experienced it. So now I would say that I've gotten more clarity after experiencing different things. That's what I wanted to just share.
Thanks for sharing that. Did that help, Louis?
it's a good one. It's a good one. It's some people say that if you don't know what to do, start doing something, and let's see how you feel with that.
Yeah. The way I would, if if someone put a gun to my head and I had to answer that question, Louis, what I would say is, rather than trying to figure out, like, hey, what is my purpose, or something like that, I would just rather ask myself, what problems do I like solving, right? In the course of my life, because I'm not one of those people that believe that your job, like, is something you have to be super passionate about, right? Like my grandmother loves to knit, but if she tried to make a killing from knitting, it wouldn't work. 100%, right? So she doesn't have to knit to like go and make money. But my point is, so then like, but if you ask yourself, well, what are the problems I like solving? And then what is there a problem I like solving that I would be so willing to spend tons of times and years getting really good at solving that problem? Then like I would say that's the thing you start going for, right? That because the better you get at solving a problem and the faster you are at it and the more effective you are at it, the more that like people will come to you and pay you a lot of money to help you to help them solve that problem that you're good at solving.
Would you consider that your process also works when you don't have the final goal, but you have the closest step in mind?
Yeah. And if you have the experience needed to help you get there, then yeah. Like look at this. You know, when people are out of work, they have a very like limited mindset, right? They operate from a place of scarcity a lot. Check this out. Where is this? I'll show you guys. This is pretty cool. So I was sharing this. Where is he? This guy, he is I'll give you his title. Engineering leader. He worked at Slack. Engineering leader at Slack, okay? Here, I'll share you his thing. So this is his experience. Can you guys see that? And he got an offer. So he got he's not here. He got laid off a little over 8 or 9 months ago. And then he got an offer. And he told me that I don't think I should negotiate because he's like, I've been laid off for so long. He's like, I should probably just be grateful for the fact that I got a job, you know? And I was like, no way, dude. When you have this much experience, you better freaking negotiate. When you have any experience, you better negotiate because companies take advantage of people all day long. And look at that. Can you guys see this? If you can, I'll make it bigger.
We do.
Oh, okay. I'll just make it bigger anyway now.
Put the LinkedIn.
You see this picture?
The LinkedIn.
No, we do the LinkedIn.
Oh, you're seeing LinkedIn? Like I help people get jobs in tech and then I can't even share a screen. That's how bad it is. So now here
now we do.
Okay. So this is him. This is Bharat. I was sharing this the other day. So he didn't want to negotiate. And I told him, I said, dude, I will refund you the entire cost of my coaching program if they don't come back and even change one aspect of it. But I knew they would. I just knew he was coming from a place of scarcity. And so like this was to whoever just asked it. He doesn't know what his like end goal is, but he knew what his next goal was. But even then, people operate from a place of scarcity. Check this out. They increased his base by 30K, and then they increased his RSUs by 110K, and then gave him a sign. So like people can celebrate the fact that he made a total of $155,000 more. But the way I look at it is that company lowballed him by 155,000. And so, you know, I share that because when you start the process, this is what I mean. You want to have it all mapped out. You want to understand, like, what am I going after? Why am I going after it? Why am I a good fit? What are the companies out there? What are the pay ranges out there? I need to know so you're fully equipped because recruiters and hiring managers, they are like trained on taking advantage of people that come across looking like uneducated about how everything works, negotiations and things like that, right? And so this guy, like, if he didn't listen to me and he took that original offer, it's not a bad offer, but he would have made $155,000 less than what he could have made. And now multiply that times, like, let's say 2, 3, 4 years that he worked there. Each year he's working, there's another 155 he left on the table, right? By the end of 4 years, he's left something close to like 500 grand on the table. So it's really, really advantageous to have a very thoughtful approach, but the thoughtful approach starts with step 1, which is identifying your M&M store. And then step 2, making sure that your resume speaks to the job descriptions you're going after. And then step 3, you want to start with the senior leadership team as best as you can instead of going in applying. Because when you speak to a senior leader first, that's what Bharat did too. Typically, that leader and you can vibe at a technical level, at a strategic level, and they're going to see the value that you bring to the table way more than a recruiter can see that.
That is actually very deep.
Yeah. Any questions, you guys, that I can help answer?
Yeah, for the last part that you said, to find that kind of education and these tools that we need, in order to be, to know what we are valued really, how do we find it?
So
Because if you look at applications, some of them are gonna do the same.
there's a lot of good tools out there. There's one called payscale.com. There's another one called salary.com. There's one called Glassdoor, H1B data. So payscale, Glassdoor, Comparably is another one. And then also LinkedIn Insights. You can just Google LinkedIn Insights. It's free to everyone. And LinkedIn Insights is pretty cool because it can kind of break down your search still in a very granular fashion, like location, type of company, cost of living. It adjusts for a lot of this stuff. So that's where you want to like make sure you're doing your research. Alex, I've actually never heard of levels, so thank you for bringing that up. Oh, get paid, not played. That's a cool catch line. I'm just clicked on it. That's really cool. Yeah, this is another resource, so I'll certainly use that too. Thank you for that, Alex. And you guys, we, just so you know, in our coaching program, we typically work with people that have like 5, 7, or even more, 10 years of experience. Like we work usually at like that early like leadership level and higher, where you now should be like targeting the 200, 300,000 type of roles. However, we actually have a free coaching program where me and my business partner, and other career coach, Katie, we host weekly coaching calls in there with everyone that's in it. We provide a lot of free resources in there. And we help a lot of people in there just go and find jobs. And we do this because, we just know that there's not enough resources out there people can utilize. So if you guys ever want to be a part of that, like I said, it's completely free. By the time when we get to like 500 people, we're going to close it, because it does take up a lot of our time. But again, we host like weekly coaching calls. There's networking events in there. You'll meet cool people in there, free resources, all the things. So if you guys want to join that, you're more than welcome. And that is the link to do so. And you'll never get asked to pay a single dime that you're in there. Just pay it forward. If you think you get help from that, then pay it forward and share whatever you learn to whoever you feel needs it. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, y'all, then I will give you 7 minutes back. All right. Well,
Thank you for
thank you.
coming. If you want to share your LinkedIn and
Oh, yeah.
maybe this presentation, if you want to email it to me, I can post it in our Slack channel so that if people want to want to check it out again. And also this presentation will be on YouTube too.
Sure. Here you go. If you guys want to connect with me, please do. Let me know how I can help in any way. I'm active in two places, LinkedIn, obviously, and then Instagram. And my Instagram is @CareerSprout. You guys are more than welcome to connect there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on and spending your Thursday afternoon with me. And if you need any help, let me know. Join this group. I'm hosting next week's call, and these coaching calls are a lot more in depth, right? So we will literally be breaking down where you're at, where you're stuck, helping you get through it. You'll meet other cool people. Sometimes you'll meet hiring managers in there. So again, if you want to be part of it, just join, and then I'll see you next week in there. Cool. Well, it's
Thank
nice
you.
to meet everyone. We'll talk soon.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.